Environmental law is the collection of laws, regulations, agreements, and common law that govern how humans interact with their environment. The purpose is to protect the environment and create rules for how people can use natural resources.
Hi, I'm Algarme and our topic is environmental law in the Philippines.
I started my journey with understanding the current landscape of environmental law in the Philippines by going to the Senate and talking to Attorney Maralit on what is environmental law and how is it taught in the Philippines.
Why is it, sir, na parang we always take environmental law, parang nasa back seat palagi siya. And yet,
it's not a bar subject. Precisely that.
Precisely
It's not a
that.
bar subject.
But the effect is so, grave.
But I think some of the topics in the environmental have become bar subject. Have become questions. So,
Yes.
sa bar. Because I think one of them is yung intergenerational justice and tinanong na yan. So, but hindi palagi not yung mga bar examinations may ask questions like that. So, dapat siguro kasi it's primordial, right? If there is no environment, there is no other law because we all perish. Ganun dapat. So, I hope is it right na to put it in the bar? Maybe. O baka magkaroon naman na ibang consequence rin. But in other countries, may mga litigation talaga sila.
To understand the subject matter of environmental law, I went to Masungi Geo Reserve.
Hi, I am Anne Dumalyang. I do project management for the Masungi Geo Reserve. I have been seeing it and appreciating it for the longest time, even since I was little. The Masungi rock formation came from the term Masungki, which means crooked. So you can see that it's very apparent from the rock formations we find around here. Another way to put it is it refers to masungit, kind of referring to the weather variations in the area. The Discovery Trail takes about 3 to 4 hours long. It's basically a meandering path more than it's a climb to a summit. In terms of a difficulty level, moderate to difficult just because there are ups and downs that you have to go through. Compared to a climb, it's quite easy because there are steps, there are stone steps. Initially, we were also considering calling it an eco park, but we didn't want to have people think that it's your typical eco park, where it's perceived as a park that's basically just created for the enjoyment of people and then conservation comes secondary. We've been doing conservation efforts around here since 1996. Tree planting, allowing the forest cover to restore, and we would say that is probably the most difficult part of everything, really. At the end of the day, what we really want to achieve through the Discovery Trail is be able to educate people and have people commune with nature. We know that there are rope courses along the way, but we've convened on that and we've established that it's not about the adventure. It always has to come back to being with nature and learning more about it. So that is what we hope to impart to our guests when they come over.
Immeasurable damage has been inflicted on the Philippine forests, our source of food, water, medicine, and shelter. In less than a decade, our forests have been stripped of trees. From 70% forest cover in the 1900s, it has been whittled down to a measly 18% as of 1998. And the Philippines continues to lose its forests at the rate of more than 100,000 hectares per year. More than 100 areas nationwide are now prone to flooding and landslide, due mainly to massive deforestation, geologic hazards, and soil conditions. In 1991, over 6,000 people were killed and billions in properties were damaged in the flash flood that occurred in Ormoc Leyte. In 2001, southern Mindanao and Caraga suffered from landslides and flash floods, leaving more than 200,000 people homeless. In 2002, killer flash floods destroyed more than 600 million worth of crops and infrastructures in many places across the country. In 2003, the government spent more than 6 million in relief assistance for the devastation that occurred in Davao, Compostela Valley, and Agusan. Only last year, another flash flood tragedy happened in Quezon, Bulacan, Nueva Ecija, and Isabela. Immediately after the December 2004 tragedy, the government suspended all logging permits in the country and ordered a review of the...
It's important to understand the environmental issues in the Philippines that existed before typhoons such as Haiyan, and how they worsened the destruction of the typhoon. Deforestation and its consequences are the most important ecological problem in the Philippines, because the land has lost so much of its forest and it cannot absorb the rains and the wind from storms like Haiyan. This causes massive flooding and landslides. Most of the victims of such flooding are poor peasants, farm workers, and the urban poor. They live at riverbanks, at the foot of mountainous areas, and in cramped shanty towns. Areas at the foot of mountains, especially those that are near rivers, are in danger of being buried in mud and logs from the uplands. The Philippine government has no competent plans in place to create decent housing for thousands of residents living around riverbanks and other endangered areas. Even putting aside the probable effects of global warming, there are very serious problems from the excessive logging and mining that has been going on in the Philippines for centuries. Since the 1960s, US and other foreign corporations and their Philippine partners expanded the mining, logging, fishing, and plantation exploitation. The extraction is done without considering the ecological balance and the social cost. Less than 1 million hectares of tropical rainforest in the Philippines remain. US and Philippine government policies incorporate magnify the negative impacts of natural disasters. Addressing environmental issues in the Philippines like deforestation and mining are vital in minimizing destruction unleashed by storms like Haiyan. One other angle that the super typhoon, which many are addressing, is the responsibility of first world countries in being the main contributors to greenhouse gases, global warming, and overall climate change. So all of this have to be addressed at home and through multilateral with other countries to make real substantive change. Public forests and forest reserves are vital sources of logs and other wood products so essential to the national economy as principal dollar earner for the country. Therefore, it is the solemn duty of every citizen to protect public forests and forest reserves from indiscriminate logging, senseless denudation, and wanton destruction to the detriment of the present and future generations. There is a need to discourage further forest destruction and denudation in order to conserve the remaining public forests and forest reserve for the patrimony of the country.